Man, 5 minutes ago this place was empty. I'm glad to see a few people showed up.
And more coming.
Yeah. I don't like just looking into a camera.
You don't?
No, I can't see them smile.
Well, there's that.
There's a few people that I just kind of tune in on because they're smiling. You feed off of positive energy or negative energy. And I like to do that. So, wow, what a week it's been. We'll talk a little bit more about it later. But I'm going to pray because we want to get started. Lord, you've been teaching over these last, 10 or 12 weeks about how men can love women better, the way they need to be loved, the way you designed for them to be loved, the way you commanded us to love them. And today we're going to start on the next few chapters of the book, Love and Respect, Lord, and we pray that you open the eyes of the women, that they can see it from the men's point of view and from your point of view of how you made men. Because it's not about being wrong, it's about being different. And it's about each person has their own individual needs, and the more that we can look to meet those needs, the better the relationship will be. And Lord, we come to you about working on our relationship with you first and foremost. Because it's only when we trust you that we trust what you say, and we trust how you tell us to deal with men and women. And Lord, open our eyes, our ears, and our heart that we might receive what you want us to receive. And we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Men, this class is not for you, and do not make any snide remarks about, I told you so. It's what I've been telling you for 15 years.
You can on the inside, okay? You can kind of
just smile, because the women may ask you, is this really how you feel? Yeah. And just calmly say, I agree with what he says.
Yeah. Choose your words wisely, right?
I'll have to tell you a little quick story. My 5-year-old grandson, you know how it goes. He goes off to kindergarten, and it's progressively been getting worse, and all at once it has really come out a smart aleck mouth. And my daughter has taken it and don't talk to me like that, and all these threatening things, but no consequences. So one day there was a consequence. I won't say what it was, but there was a consequence. And he says, but Mama, I don't even know what I did wrong. And she said, well, think before you open your mouth. And that's something we could all learn. My name is Skipper, and you think I talk fast? You should be in my head, because it really runs fast. But, Kathy has really done a great job. I made notes, and then she redid them. Hers is so much better than mine. So thank you, Kathy, and speak to the women today.
Well, and as much as this stuff is for women, it's also for men to have some input as well. And so it's good for you to be here and hear what Dr. Emerson Eggerichs is sharing with the women, so that you can, as you see the women in your life changing, if they get this information, that you're ready to receive that change. Because one of the aggravating things for a lot of us is when we've been married for a long time, and then all of a sudden someone starts, doing the things that we've been asking for all along. We can get cynical, or we can get, oh, well, now you can do it. It's like, instead of just enjoying the fact that that people are trying to change and trying to meet those needs. So this is good for everybody to listen to. And I've got some things to share with the men as well. It's, It's not, this isn't just a beat on the women thing, but it's going to be we're going to share, and we're going to, learn some things about each other that maybe we hadn't known before. So if you're following us in the book is, we're starting on chapter 15, which is page 183, is where this is at. And this is about he uses acronyms. Teachers and preachers use acronyms because it's a way of teaching, it's a way of remembering, and it can help. I can tell you that up until doing the class this time, we really haven't paid that much attention to these acronyms that he has used in the book. They just don't really speak to us as far as acronyms go. But for some people it does. It makes the learning a little easier because if you think about the word, the acronym, then you can think about the words that go with it. But we've spent a little bit more time because we've had to do it since we're doing it like we're doing it as a book report and not relying on the videos to tell the story. Mm-hmm. We've had to get a little more intimate with the stories in the book. Actually had to really read them. So it's been good for us to do it this way. So this particular portion is called chairs. And ladies, this is the energizing cycle. And this is how we can energize our men to be more loving by us being more respectful. And it's a cycle. Everything goes in a cycle. For every action, there is a reaction. All right? So what we want to get are the positive reactions and not the negative reactions. And the only way to get positive reactions is for us to start it off with the positive side. And eventually we can get to positive cycles instead of the negative ones. So he uses the acronym CHAIRS, CHAIRS. And ladies, I'm going to challenge you right off the bat before I tell you what these words are. I'm going to challenge you to think about them in a positive light and not the negative light. If you've had issues with men in the past, if you've had maybe you had a really strong-handed father or grandfather, or you've suffered at the hands of a man with abuse, you may look at these words in a negative light. So I'm going to challenge you to change your thinking. Let's change the thinking. Don't let these words remind you of the bad. Let's learn what they mean in the good. Let's learn what they mean in the positive. Because these words are based on how God has designed men. And this is just a way for us to be able to relate to it by using these types of words. So don't get all wigged out about it. Change your thinking. If you start to go to the negative side, recognize it and go to the positive side and think about it in that way. So the first words in chairs is conquest. Conquest has a negative overtone to it if you've been abused by a man, right? We think about it medieval times and, these types of things that we see in the movies of conquest. And let's switch it up into the positive side. For a man, conquest is about his desire to work and achieve. And it's about conquering those things in his life in the positive way. This is how he's designed. And we're going to talk more about each one of these words in the chapters to come. But I want to give you this overview and then go into each one of these words and what they mean. Hierarchy is the H. That's the next one. A lot of women can go negative with that. Let's don't do that. Let's put this in the perspective that God has of in the home. There is a hierarchy. And when we step outside of that hierarchy, we're going to have problems. Mm-hmm. And so if we stick with God's plan, this is about the man's desire to protect and provide. Authority is the A in chairs. And this is about his desire to serve and to lead. Again, authority could have that negative, I have authority over you. That's not what this is about. This is about the man has a responsibility to serve and to lead. And this is about giving him the authority that goes with the responsibility that he has. Insight is the I. His desire to analyze and counsel. One of the things that I've struggled with in the past is the need to fix it. Right? They're fixers. Our men are fixers. It's how they're designed. God did that. These are things that you're going to have to take up with God if you don't like that. Okay? Don't argue with me about it. Argue with God about it, and you're going to lose. But anyway, you can, if that makes you feel better, go ahead. But this is how they're designed. We've been able to kind of work through that. Before we had this information, it was a struggle because I would share my day with Skipper, and he would want to fix it, right? Well, do this or do that. You know, his mind immediately goes to that. Well, we do that too. Don't we, women? We do that too. We go right into how are we going to make it better for whatever they're doing. Guess what? They don't want to hear that any more than we want to hear them fix our problem, okay? So recognize that. Recognize that this is one of those kind of mutual ground things that we all have this thing in us. It's based on whether we're the nurturer or whether we're the protector of we want to counsel through something. It's part of what God has designed for them in that way. So let's recognize that and work together with that. And we'll talk more about that when we get to that part in the book. The R stands for relationship. Now we think, these are guys that don't care about relationship, right? That's not true. That's not true at all. Men need friends. And JP did a study, is it Revere or which one was it, where, I think it's the book that Anita's reading now. What's that? Wild at Heart. And I think it's in that book that he talks about, whatever his name is, I can't remember. John Eldridge, thank you. But it talks about men need friends. And we don't think about it because men are tough, and they don't get all gushy and all this kind of stuff. But men need friends, and it needs to be shoulder to shoulder. That's what's respectful to them. And so we'll talk more about that relationship need that they have for that desire for shoulder to shoulder friendship. And the S stands for sexuality. His desire for sexual intimacy. He is designed by God for this. Again, ladies, you don't like it, take it up with God. This is his design. This is how he created them. And while we both need to temper how we feel about this, right, we need to have an understanding of how men are made. And with understanding, we can then become more compassionate towards the needs and the desires that they have. So that's what this class is about, is to bring some understanding. And just like, for children, we've heard this forever. Children spell love how? T-I-M-E, right? Children spell love, T-I-M-E. Well, your husbands and the men in your life, and this isn't just about your husbands, but the husbands and the men in your life, they spell love, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. They spell love with respect. And so in order for you to receive the unconditional respect, unconditional love that you're looking for as women, you have got to learn how to give unconditional respect. It may be one of the hardest things you have to do, but it will change the things in your life and in those that are around you. So any comments?
It's like learning to speak a brand new language for both of us. And we don't do it automatically, and we get some of the words wrong. and sometimes it turns out worse instead of better, but we got to keep on. I was thinking about these words, and in my life, I would have definitely picked out different words than conquest and hierarchy and all of that. But what we want to dwell on is his meaning for those words. Forget about the words. What is his meaning for those words? When we think about his desire to work and achieve, you can get on board with that. But so just, these are words that I would never use in my vocabulary, so I don't understand them except for in a negative way. So just keep in mind that it's a language, and it's going to take men a long time to learn how to speak love, and men be easy. It's going to take women a long time to learn how to spell respect. So, okay.
All right, so moving on to page 185, you're following in the book. This is about the respect test. And he's got some good stories in here about this. We're not going to read all of those today, but if you've got the book, I would suggest going and reading them, because they can give you some really good ideas on how to figure this thing out. Called respect, that seems so foreign to us. We think we understand it because we know what we like to be respected too as women. But it's just different, ladies. You just got to understand that it has a different flavor to the men. So when what he talks about in here is with the respect test is you got to do some thinking. And depending on how long you've been on the crazy cycle may depend on how long it takes you to really think of things that you respect about your husband. Maybe it's, if you don't have a husband, maybe it's your son, or maybe it's your father, or it's an uncle or a grandfather or some other male figure in your life that maybe you've been sideways with at some point. And thinking about it in those terms of respect, and depending on how long you've been on a really crazy cycle may depend on how quickly things come to you or not. It might take a little time to think about what are some things that you respect about that man that's in your life. And this is going to speak volumes to them when you start to do this. But you have to do it sincerely. You can't just do it because there's a chapter in the book that says do it, right? There's a man in here that wants you to fake it, right? Tell me I'm wrong, guys. Nobody wants you to fake it. They want you to be honest. There's no sense in saying something that that's not truthful, because they're going to know that. They have respect intuition, just like we have. We got love intuition. They got respect. They know when respect is real and when it isn't. So don't fake it. But take some time to think about the things that you really respect about that man that's in your life. And if they're a good-willed man and you've had a pretty decent relationship, it probably won't take a lot of time to figure this out. But if you've got a lot of stuff on top of that relationship, a lot of junk, then you got to start peeling things back. And you may even have to go right back to the beginning. What was it that attracted you to them to begin with? And start there. Is he still that person? Is he still doing those things? And find those ways, those things. And I would say write them down, because when you start saying these things, when you start telling your husband that you respect him, he's going to want to know why. He's going to want to know what those things are, and you need to be able to say why. So here's what Emerson suggests for you to do, and he suggests that you casually tell him. You just casual, not face on. Let me tell you how much I respect you. Yeah. That doesn't cut it, right? Don't get in their face. We ladies, we're face on. I can make eye contact, Miss Dina and Miss Barbara and everybody, all the women out here, and we can have a face on. But, the guys aren't all that comfortable. We looking them in the eyeball, Now, JP, he's tough. He'll take it. But, right, Tyler, he'll take it. He's tough, right? But it's not what they're trained. It's not what they're comfortable doing. So try not to do that face-on things. But guys, know that we want to be face-on with you. Know that. And be gentle with that as well.
I just had a flash. I had a flash. I think, especially my age group and maybe a little younger and older, the two reasons why we don't like somebody to get in our face. Because in our lifetime, there was two groups of people that got in our face, and we didn't like it either time. And one of them was a mother. How many mothers said, "Look at me when I talk to you"? Don't do that. They didn't marry their mother. And the other was drill sergeants that got right in your face. And what was the purpose of it? They wanted to break you.
See where you're breaking from.
The whole purpose of drill sergeant and boot camp is to break you. Because when you get captured, they're going to try to break you too.
It'll be in your face.
So that just dawned on me when JP's military, Marine, them drill sergeants, they make a woman look like a piece of cake. But those are the images that men have about get in their face, and we don't like it. So, but just a thought.
No, that's a great one. That's a great illustration too. It helps paint the picture of why there is that negative reaction by men when we want them to look at us. Mm-hmm. So take the time. But your timing is important when you're going to start doing this. If you haven't ever done it before, timing is essential. You can't just walk into the room and say, "I respect you," and think that they're not going to look at you like you've got three heads. Like, where the heck did that come from? Okay. Yeah, what happened? Yeah. So you don't want to do that. You want it to be casual, but you want your timing to be right in that they don't need to be into something else.
Not during a football game, or something like
yeah,
that.
Yeah, let's don't do that. If football's their thing, right? Don't try to talk to them about this stuff during. It might seem like actually to us is a great time to do it because there's not a whole lot of face on with that, but it's not the right time. And
They'll
this
never
is
hear
why.
you.
This is why. Men are created to be monodirectional by nature. What is that? What does that mean? They don't multitask. And I'm going to tell you, the older I get, the more I wish I was more monodirectional than omni. I can tell you because multitasking just stinks. It's a horrible word. And those of us at this age group, we've had to do it. That was the big thing when you got hired is can you multitask? And if I go for another job, I'm going to say no, I can't, and I don't want to. Right? I'm going to lie and say I can't do it because it's terrible because you end up doing too many things at once. But for men, this is how they're designed. Why are they designed this way? What is the purpose?
Keep their eye on the enemy.
There you go. They're warriors to keep their eye on the enemy, to be able to focus in and not be distracted by the things that are around them. They can zero in, they can focus in, and they can be right there in that moment. Omnidirectional is how we're made as nurturers. How many of you can relate to standing in the kitchen, cooking supper, hearing the kids screaming in the background, in their rooms fighting? He's sitting in the living room watching TV or reading the paper or looking at his phone or whatever. The dryer is dinging and somebody's knocking at the door.
And you're talking on the phone.
And you hear all of this, right? You are fully aware of all of those things that are going on, and he's not. And you're mad because you got it all, right? And we call it selective hearing, don't we?
Yes.
But really, it's how they're designed. It's another one of those issues to take up with God, right? Because he designed them that way. Now, I can tell you that you can be driving along the road, and there can be this movement over in the ditch that's filled with water, and suddenly the peripheral vision kicks in. There's a gator. Where? Right? Right? Go ahead.
We were going to Barbara Granger's the other day to pick up the church deposit, and they live in a subdivision that's got a retention pond, and there wasn't even a movement. But on the bank was this huge soft-shell turtle. Now, I cannot see a bottle of ketchup in the refrigerator, but I could see that soft-shell turtle 100 yards away.
It's amazing.
You're looking for the enemy.
Yeah.
Now, we're not always looking for the enemy, but it is our job to protect. And as our job of protection, we got to know what's around us. So we're a lot more focused on what's around us than what's in front of us. Because God created us to protect. And not wrong, just different.
It's just different, exactly. But it's just that, it's what fits that natural part of a man. You're created to be hunters. You're created to be conquerors. You're created to protect. You're created to do those things. So those are the things that are going to come natural if you're left to be in the natural. But many times, ladies, and shame on us for doing this, though we did it with great intention, we've taken the manhood out of them. And we have feminized a lot of the men that are in our lives. Our sons, we have feminized them because they're rough and we don't like it. And so we're trying to make them nicer because we don't want them to be rough and we don't want them to fight and we want them to... And these are things that are very natural to them. And so rather than taking it away, we need to teach temperament, right? And teach that, let's temper what we're doing, but not take it away from them. Because that's who they are. That's who they're created to be, and there's a very good reason for it. So, anyway, go ahead.
Excuse me.
There's a mute button over there when you're going to do that. Tyler's not fast enough with the mute button over there, knowing when you're going to cough. So, this is what he suggests doing. Do this when he's not distracted. Understand that, that they're focused on things. Do it at a time that you can casually do it. And say you just wanted to let him know that you really do respect him. that you were thinking about him and thinking about the things that you respect and just wanting to know that you really do respect, and then walk away. That's what Emerson suggests doing. Now, he may say, like what? He may follow you. There's a story in the book that talks about the man that she does this to her husband, and she walks out, and he's like, wait, what? Like what? He suddenly wants to know what, because it's speaking his mother tongue. When you start talking respect, you start speaking their mother tongue, and not suddenly they're in the moment, right? Won't happen all the time, and we'll talk about that in just a moment, but go ahead.
I got to laugh at the comparisons, because when there's a problem in the family and the man says, I'm sorry, the first thing she's going to say, for what? And when a woman says, I respect you, the first thing the man's going to say is, why? And you need to know why. You know, are you going to get in? Are you talking about the note in the briefcase?
I wasn't bringing that out specifically, but
you know,
we'll
if you don't, maybe for sometimes it's not walk in and tell him, you know, I respect you. You know, he tells a story about just leaves a note in his briefcase. Leave it at his coffee cup, his chair, his recliner, something. Rather than a marriage book, leave him a note that you respect him.
Right.
You know,
I'm not going to read the marriage
maybe
book.
a little short reason why.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I know, you know, I can say at least I did it the last time I was out of town for a few days. When I make papers for church, I cut them to fit my Bible. So I've got my notes on my Bible. So I've got a lot of little extra pieces on the cutting board. And I don't know, I think I had 7 different little pieces, and I just wrote something really simple. I love you. I miss you. I'll be home at a certain time. And I hid them all over the house. She liked it. We would too. And I appreciate how hard you work. I know you got a lot on your mind, and I'm here to help you. You see what I'm saying? It's a two-way street.
Right. All right. Now, your man's not going to get all gushy about it if you do that for him like you would for, you know, him doing it for you. Like,
Really
oh,
inside.
that's so sweet. But on the inside, it builds them up. You know, their chest will stick out just a little bit further. Their head will be held just a little bit higher because you are their cheerleader. Right? They look at you that way, and they need you to be that way. So when he says, if he says, for what? You know, like what? Be prepared with your answer, but your answer needs to be sincere. Don't fake it. Be sincere about it. And use, ladies, listen to me, use as few words as possible. They don't need the book version. They need just the little bitty index card version. They don't need the big long story. They may want more of the story. Leave them wanting to know more about the story. But leave that up to them to ask for more. Wait for that prompting for more information, and then feed it to them a little at a time. I think will be, because if they think this is going to turn into one of those long drawn out relationship conversations, all right, you've just taken a moment that was very special for them and turned it into one of those eye-rolling moments. Don't do that. Keep it short. Practice it. It's okay to practice what you're going to say if he asks you, and then be prepared. What if he says nothing at all? What if he doesn't respond? Yes, Edgar.
My idea would be if he doesn't.
We need a microphone.
Show me.
Right, okay. And what Edgar just said, he said if a man doesn't respond, he's probably saying, show me the respect that
Yeah.
you say that you have, right? Show me that respect. He needs to see it. And I'm going to tell you that if, depending on how long you have spun on the crazy cycle, could definitely, poor Barbara, the longer you've spun on that cycle, the more effort you may have to put into showing it, not just telling it.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I want to go back for just a moment for the people on Facebook. When we talk about the crazy cycle, there is a issue. The issue can be anything in the world. But what happens when a man acts unloving or a woman acts disrespectful? That creates the crazy cycle, and you don't get a resolution to the problem. You may get through it, but there's no connection at the end. There's no full circle. And the issue becomes unloving and unrespectful. It's not the finances. It's not the children. It's how we interact with each other to come to a solution. So when we keep talking about the crazy cycle, it's about love and respect, not the problem. When you get the love and respect right, when you're both good-willed people, you can come to a solution.
Right.
Okay.
And like I was saying, depending on how long we've been on it, if you've been on the crazy cycle for a long time, you just didn't know. You just didn't have this information. You just didn't know, right? We don't know what we don't know sometimes. And most of the time, we learn by experience. We learn by doing. We learn by doing it wrong. We should learn by doing it wrong. Yeah. Let's hope we do. We hope we learn from it. But your man might be shut down. He may not really trust, depending on how these types of conversations have gone in the past. And it's up to you to build that trust back. You have to take that step. If you want your man to feel that in such a way that he wants to give back to you what you want, you've got to give to him what he wants. And that is unconditional respect. So just know if he says nothing at all, he may be looking for some evidence that it exists. He may be shut down, and you just got to give him time. And I would say this is what, just show him respect regardless of his response. Even if he acts like he doesn't believe you. He might scoff. He might even go, yeah, right. And I mean, that's like an arrow to our heart, isn't it, ladies? But you know what? We may need to just take it. Put your big girl panties on and just take it. Because he may need to express that, yeah, he doesn't believe you. And at least now you know what he's thinking, don't you? If he says something, if he says, yeah, right, you now